You never forget the sound a safe makes when it's dragged across a wooden floor. It's not a scream. It's not a whisper. It's something in between, like a groan from deep inside the house, as if the walls themselves are protesting. That's the sound I came home to that day. Not silence, not chaos, just that low, scraping betrayal. I'm Daniel, 43, contractor by trade. Been restoring homes in Charleston for almost 2 decades. Old Southern houses with secrets in their beams and stories behind their walls. I loved my work, still do, even after everything. I used to think building something brick by brick meant you could make it last forever. Turns out, even the strongest foundation can crumble from within. My wife, Melanie, used to help with the business. She was the face of the company, charming clients, dressing sharp, making people feel at ease. People loved her. Hell, I loved her. She had this way of walking into a room and making you feel like she saw something special in you, like she chose you. And I guess that's what made it hurt so damn much when I realized she'd been lying to me for months. We were married 8 years. Not all of them perfect, but I thought we had something real. We laughed a lot in the beginning, those stupid inside jokes, late-night arguments over takeout, the kind of memories that make a life feel full even when the bank account isn't. Somewhere along the way, things shifted, subtle at first. She stopped asking how my day was. Her phone was always face down. She'd stay out later, blaming client meetings or just needing space. I should have said something, should have pushed, but I didn't. I told myself it was a phase, that maybe I'd been too focused on work. Then came the safe. We kept it in the study, bolted to the floor. It held all our shared documents, deeds, insurance, old savings bonds from my grandfather. Nothing fancy, nothing worth a heist. Or so I thought. That day I walked in and the house was quiet, too quiet. No music playing, no wine glass on the counter, no trail of her perfume in the air. Just that sound, that awful sound of something being taken. The safe was gone, ripped clean out of the floor, splinters everywhere like the room had been gutted. I stood there staring at the hole, hands shaking, heart racing. My wife didn't leave a note, didn't answer her phone, nothing. Just gone. At first I thought we'd been robbed, but then I checked the bedroom. Her clothes were gone, jewelry box empty. Even the dog's leash, gone. That was when the truth hit me. She hadn't left. She'd planned this. She took the safe, took her things, and walked out like it was just another Tuesday. And in that moment, I wasn't confused. I wasn't heartbroken. I was furious. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the dent in the hardwood where the safe used to be. I kept thinking maybe she'd come back. Maybe this was some kind of twisted joke, or a panic-fueled mistake. But deep down, I knew. Melanie was gone, and she'd planned it. I tried calling her, 12 times, straight to voicemail. Her number was disconnected by morning. I checked her socials. Nothing, all deleted, like she never existed. The first few days were a blur. I'd go to work like a zombie, put on a good face for clients, then come home to an empty house that echoed with everything she left behind. Her absence was loud, louder than any fight we ever had. At night, I'd sit in that study with a glass of whiskey and just stare at the hole. It became a symbol, not just of what she took, but how she took it. Clean, cold, calculated. I told myself I'd move on, sell the house, start over. But something wasn't sitting right. The safe was heavy, almost 400 pounds. It was bolted through 2 joists, and I'm the one who installed it. It would have taken tools, time, and someone who knew exactly what they were doing. Melanie couldn't have done it alone. She was strong-willed, not physically strong. So, who helped her? I started thinking back. Little moments. A few months ago, I came home early and saw her whispering to some guy in a dark sedan outside the hardware store. She said it was a client. Another time, I found a receipt for a locksmith in her purse. She brushed it off as helping her sister with a lockout. I didn't press. I wanted to believe her. But now those things started sticking out like red flags on a snowfield. I called her sister, said she hadn't spoken to Melanie in weeks, claimed she didn't even know we were having issues. I didn't correct her. The shame was heavy enough already. Then there was the bank account. I logged in and saw $46.13. That's all I had left in checking. I scrolled through the activity, stomach sinking. Over the last 3 weeks, Melanie had been making cash withdrawals. $500 here, $300 there, sometimes twice in one day. In total, over $10,000 gone, quietly drained while I was out running jobs and fixing strangers' homes. It hit me in waves: anger, humiliation, disbelief. I wasn't just betrayed, I was played. One night, I found myself tearing through old boxes in the attic. I don't even know what I was looking for. Maybe a clue, maybe something she forgot to take. What I found was a folder tucked inside an old toolbox. It had paperwork from our early days, our first joint tax return, a list of home renovations, even the original sketches for the house. That's when I remembered something my grandfather used to say. Don't trust what's in plain sight. The real treasures are buried deeper. It came rushing back. When I first bought this place, my grandfather helped me gut the walls to reinforce the studs and rewire the place. It was just the two of us, sweating through the summer, laughing about how the house had good bones. One night, after we'd sealed the living room walls back up, he leaned in real quiet and told me he'd left something behind them. Just in case, he said. At the time, I laughed it off. Thought it was an old man's nostalgia. Now, I wasn't so sure. I grabbed a flashlight and a crowbar and walked over to the far side of the living room, the wall behind the fireplace. That's where we'd been working when he said it. I pried away a baseboard and started tapping the wall above it, inch by inch. Most of it sounded solid, but right in the center, I heard something. Hollow. My pulse spiked. I put the crowbar to the drywall and popped a small square out. Dust fell. I reached inside, fingers brushing against something cold and metal. My hand wrapped around it, a small, rusted tin box. I pulled it out slowly, heart in my throat. Inside were stacks of old cash, not bills, bonds, hundreds of them, rolled tight and wrapped in parchment. Dated back to the 1960s. I counted in silence. Each bond was worth $500. There had to be over 200 of them. I sat on the floor, breathless. Melanie had taken the safe, thinking she'd cleaned me out. She had no idea. But instead of feeling victorious, I felt hollow. Like this discovery wasn't a triumph, but another chapter in a story I never wanted to be a part of. I didn't even know what to do with the bonds. Sell them, hide them again, call a lawyer. And then the doubt crept in. Was Melanie just after the money? Did she know about this somehow? Was that why she left? I didn't have answers, just more questions. But one thing was clear. She thought she took everything. She was wrong. I didn't go to work the next day. I told the crew I needed a day off for personal reasons, which was code for I needed to sit in my living room with that tin box in my lap, staring at my life split in two. Part of me wanted to burn everything, bonds, photos, memories, the whole damn house. But a louder part whispered, "You're not done yet. Not until you know the whole story." So I got methodical. I made coffee, turned off my phone, and pulled out every document Melanie hadn't taken. Tax files, mortgage statements, credit card bills, anything that might tell me where she went, who helped her, or why she did it. And that's when I saw the second bank account. I hadn't noticed it before. It was in her name only. Opened 6 months ago. Small deposits here and there, then suddenly, $18,000 wired in over the last 60 days. My gut told me it wasn't just from our account. So I called the credit union and asked to review our business finances too. I had to go in person, show my ID, wait for what felt like hours. When they finally pulled the records, I felt like the floor dropped out beneath me. Melanie had been siphoning money from our clients, quietly padding invoices, rerouting payments to vendor accounts that didn't exist. I recognized the names, clients I'd worked for, jobs I'd poured myself into. She used my reputation to steal from people who trusted me. That was when the betrayal stopped, being personal and started being criminal. I printed everything, every shady withdrawal, every fake invoice, every deposit into that side account. I kept them in a manila folder and labeled it Truth, because calling it anything else felt dishonest. But the worst blow came that night. I was eating cold pizza, staring at her empty side of the closet when my email pinged. It was a message from one of our old clients, Ms. Janine Foster, a sweet woman in her 70s we'd helped renovate a porch for. She wrote, "Daniel, I hope this finds you well. I just wanted to say thank you again for the beautiful work you did. I paid the deposit Melanie asked for, $5,000 cash, but I'm still waiting for the railing replacement she promised. I haven't been able to reach her. Is everything okay? That did it. I felt the anger boil over, not just for me, but for all the people she conned while standing next to me, smiling like butter wouldn't melt in her mouth. I sent Janine a refund out of my own pocket, no hesitation. But I also realized I had more than enough now, enough to go to the cops, enough to take her to court. But I wasn't ready, not yet, because part of me didn't want revenge in the form of handcuffs or lawsuits. I wanted her to know I knew. I wanted her to feel that cold drop in the stomach, the way I did staring at that ripped-up floor. So, I planned. I found a private investigator, Manny Delgado, a guy I'd hired once to track down a thief who'd been hitting job sites. Manny didn't ask too many questions, just listened and nodded, scribbled a few things on a notepad, and told me he'd start digging. While he worked his side, I worked mine. I called old clients, dozens of them. Casually, gently, I asked if Melanie had ever contacted them directly. Half of them said yes. A few even forwarded me texts and emails. She'd set up a whole side hustle under a fake business name, Palmetto Restorations. Same logo as mine, just enough tweaks to look different. She'd been doing side jobs with my materials, my crew, and pocketing the profits. Each piece of evidence stacked higher and higher, like bricks in a wall I was building to trap her in. And still, I struggled. Because between moments of icy rage and surgical precision, I had flashes of memory. Her falling asleep on the couch with her hand on my chest. Her crying when my dog passed. Her dancing barefoot in the kitchen to Marvin Gaye. Was that all fake? Or was there a moment when she loved me, and then it just broke? Some nights I sat alone in the house and talked to her like she was still there. "Why, Mel?" I'd whisper. "Wasn't I enough? Wasn't this life enough?" No answer, just silence and the creak of old wood. But the silence gave me clarity. This wasn't just about what she did to me. It was what she did to who I used to be, trusting, soft. A man who thought loyalty could be taken for granted. That man was gone now, replaced by someone, sharper, someone who paid attention, someone ready. I wasn't just the guy who got played anymore. I was the man planning her reckoning, and it was coming soon. 2 weeks later, Manny called me. "She's in Savannah," he said, voice low, like we were planning a bank robbery. Living in a rental under the name Melanie Ray. Real low-key, expensive neighborhood. She's not alone. My grip tightened around the phone. "Who's she with?" He paused. "Guy named Eric Delaney, contractor. Used to work for you, right?" Eric, of course. He was young, green, and full of charm. I gave him a shot when nobody else would. Showed him the ropes, taught him how to read blueprints, how to talk to clients. I even helped him get his license. I used to tell Melanie he reminded me of a younger me. She'd just laugh and say, "Younger, but not smarter." Now it all clicked. They'd been doing it together, skimming jobs, siphoning money, setting up their own business behind my back, using my name, my tools, my life as a stepping stone, and the safe, just the cherry on top. I was done playing quiet. I drove to Savannah that Saturday. I didn't tell Manny. I didn't tell anyone. I needed this moment to myself, not for revenge, but for something deeper, closure, truth. The power that comes from looking someone in the eye and showing them you're not broken. Their place was tucked inside one of those polished neighborhoods with trimmed hedges and fancy mailboxes. I parked down the street, walked up slow. My heart was pounding, but my hands were steady. I had the folder, every document, every photo, every record. Proof in ink and paper. I rang the doorbell. Melanie answered. She opened the door halfway, clearly not expecting anyone. Her smile faltered the second she saw me. "Daniel." "Hey, Mel," I said, calm as ever. "Nice place." She glanced behind her. I heard footsteps, his voice calling out, "Who is it?" Before he appeared at her shoulder. Eric. Wearing a stupid grin that vanished the second he saw my face. "You look surprised," I said, holding up the folder. "Didn't think I'd find you?" Melanie stepped outside, closing the door behind her like she was protecting a secret that had already spilled all over the damn porch. "Daniel, what are you doing here?" "I thought you'd want a copy of everything," I said, handing her the folder. "Bank records, fraudulent invoices, client statements. You and Eric have been busy." She didn't take it at first, just stared at it like it might explode. "Go ahead," I added. "You'll want to see what the DA's gonna see." Now she grabbed it. Her hands trembled as she flipped through the first few pages. Her face went pale. You had no right." "I had every right," I snapped. "You stole from me. You stole from our clients, from Janine Foster, from the Crawfords, hell, from your own damn name." Eric stepped forward. "Hey man, why don't you calm down?" "Shut your mouth," I barked, eyes locked on him. "You think you're slick? You think you earned any of this? You're a parasite, Eric. You latched onto me because you couldn't build anything on your own. And she—" I turned back to Melanie, my voice low and sharp. "She used me to learn the system. You two deserve each other." "Daniel," she started, but I cut her off. "You thought the safe had everything," I said, a bitter smile creeping across my face. "You thought you were walking away with the prize. But the real fortune?" I took a breath. "It was never in the safe. It was in the walls. Bonds my grandfather hid, worth over 100,000. You left it behind." Her lips parted, stunned, speechless. "Yeah," I nodded. "You stole an empty box and left the gold behind. Story of your life, huh?" I turned to leave, walked back toward the truck with every step heavier than the last, but it wasn't grief this time. It was power. It was freedom. But just as I reached the door, she called out, "Daniel, wait." I stopped. Didn't turn around. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she said, her voice breaking for the first time. I was angry. I felt small, like I didn't matter anymore. You were always so focused on the business. I wanted something for myself. "You wanted everything," I said without looking back. "And now, you've got nothing." I got in the truck, slammed the door, and drove. Later that week, I handed the folder to my attorney. He said it was more than enough to press charges. But I told him not yet. Let them live with the weight of knowing I could destroy them at any time. Let them wonder when the knock would come. I didn't need to burn them to the ground. They were already living in the ashes. It didn't take long for the ripple effects to start. The first wave hit the professional circles. Word got around fast in the contractor community. Small towns whisper louder than they speak. Clients started talking. A few forwarded me emails Melanie had sent under her fake company. I shared those with my lawyer, who quietly tipped off a local reporter from the Charleston Ledger. By the following Friday, there it was. Renovation scandal exposes fraud ring. Husband speaks out. My name was clean. Hers and Eric's smeared in black ink across the front page. Within days, their website disappeared. Reviews turned ugly. Clients they had conned started reaching out to me, some angry, others just hurt. I helped where I could, called vendors, offered partial refunds from my own pocket, even finished one woman's kitchen renovation free of charge. Not for Melanie, not to look good, but because I needed to reclaim my name, reclaim me. Then came the legal hit. The DA's office opened a formal investigation. Melanie and Eric were served notices for financial fraud, impersonation, and breach of contract on multiple counts. The court froze their assets. What little they hadn't already blown through. Eric lost his contractor license. Melanie's name was removed from every business record we ever filed together. Our divorce, which had stalled in silence, was suddenly moving at light speed. She tried reaching out once. A letter. It was handwritten, no return address. She said she never meant for things to go this far. Claimed she'd just gotten lost in the thrill of being wanted, admired, powerful. She apologized, said she hoped I'd heal. But nowhere in the letter did she admit what she did, not fully. It was more regret than remorse. I burned it. The bonds, I had them appraised. Turns out they were even more valuable than I thought, worth nearly $140,000 after interest. I used part of it to pay off the house, invested the rest. That money came from my grandfather, from the past. It wasn't dirty. It felt like a lifeline from a man who always knew I'd need one. But even with the wins, the cleared name, the justice, the financial recovery, some nights still felt heavy. I'd catch myself listening for her footsteps on the stairs, or reaching across the bed before remembering the space was empty. Trust doesn't just come back like flipping a switch. It creeps in, slow and uncertain. Still, for the first time in a long time, I could breathe. I wasn't waiting for the other shoe to drop. I wasn't bracing for another lie. I was standing on ground I built myself, solid, steady, and finally, mine again. It's been 6 months. The dust has settled, the court cases are moving through the system, and I haven't seen Melanie since that day on her porch. And honestly, I don't need to. That chapter is closed. The house feels different now, lighter, like it exhaled with me. I refinished the floors in the study where the safe once sat, replaced the gouged wood, sanded everything smooth. Sometimes I catch myself standing in the doorway, just staring at that spot. Not with anger, but with perspective. It's where I was broken, and where I started rebuilding. The business survived, barely. I had to downsize, let 2 guys go, take on more of the grunt work myself. But in the process, I got back to why I started it in the first place. There's something healing about working with your hands, about turning something worn and falling apart into something new and whole. I stopped chasing big contracts and started focusing on homes that meant something. People who cared, work that mattered. I even started teaching a class at the local vocational school, basic carpentry and renovation. A few of the students remind me of myself at 22, broke, hungry, and willing to bleed to build something real. Helping them gave me something I didn't know I needed, purpose beyond profit. And then there's Claire. She's a real estate agent. We met when she called me about a house flip her client needed help with. I wasn't looking for anything. Still wore my scars like armor, but she had this way of listening without judgment. She never pried, just asked questions that mattered and let the silence do the rest. We've been seeing each other for a couple months now. Nothing fast, nothing forced, just honest. The best part? I don't feel like I'm trying to prove anything to her. I'm not performing, not putting on a mask. I tell her the truth, even the ugly parts. She doesn't flinch, just nods and says, "That must have been hell." And somehow, hearing that makes it a little less painful. There are still echoes of Melanie in my life, a playlist I skip, a restaurant I avoid, a drawer I haven't emptied. But they don't define me anymore. They're just remnants, ghosts that no longer haunt me, just pass through like smoke. The real treasure I found wasn't in the walls. It wasn't the bonds or the money or even the justice. It was the version of me I had to fight to become. The man who no longer doubts his worth, who sees betrayal not as the end, but as a beginning. I used to think trust was something you gave freely until someone proved they didn't deserve it. Now I know better. Trust starts with yourself. And when you've built your life from the ground up with your own 2 hands, when you faced the storm, held your ground, and refused to be defined by what was taken from you, that's a kind of wealth no one can steal. Not even the person who knew you best. Not even the one who tried. People always talk about betrayal like it's a knife to the back. But what they don't tell you is that the real pain isn't in the moment you get cut. It's in the weeks and months after, when you're left bleeding alone, trying to understand why. Trying to piece together how someone who once swore they loved you could look you in the eye and still lie, still steal, still walk away without looking back. But here's the thing. Betrayal doesn't just break you. It reveals you. It strips away the illusions, the noise, the comfort of denial. It forces you to confront who you are when everything falls apart. And for me, that meant discovering a strength I didn't know I had. A fire that burned beneath the heartbreak. A will to rise, not in spite of the pain, but because of it. I could have let Melanie's betrayal define me, could have grown bitter, closed off, stayed angry. And for a while, I did. But healing doesn't happen by pretending you weren't hurt. It happens when you let yourself feel it, when you sit with the ache, own the truth, and then, piece by piece, start building again. And if you're lucky, really lucky, you come out the other side not just scarred, but stronger, wiser, more grounded. I learned that real loyalty isn't measured in years or words. It's revealed in moments of choice, when someone could lie but tells the truth, when they could leave but choose to stay, when they have access to everything you are and still protect it like it's precious. I don't regret the love I gave. I don't regret trusting her, because I know now that trust isn't weakness, it's courage. It's the boldest thing you can offer someone. And next time, if there is a next time, I'll still love boldly. But I'll never again confuse silence with peace. And I'll never, ever let someone else walk away with the best parts of me. Because now I know The real fortune was never in the safe. It was in me all along.